is here with Keyshawn J. Willimax on ESPN Radio. He is an ESPN NFL analyst and a two-time Super Bowl champion because no one who played for the Patriots has a decency just to have one Super Bowl ring. Everyone's got to have at least two.
Try.
What are your expectations for Cowboys and Niners?
This could be a good game. It's going to be one of them hard-fought games. And I like defensive battles because you think about the 49ers. We know about their defense. But, the Dallas Cowboys, because towards the middle parts of the season, they started slipping up. In the beginning of the season, that's all we were talking about. It was the Cowboys' defense. Oh, look at this defense. They're fast. They're getting after quarterbacks. Then they started letting up some yardage on the ground. And I still think that this game is going to come down to who can create the turnover, who can create that defensive turnover that could potentially win you the football game. And I love when you have the number one defense in the NFL, especially in the playoffs, going against the Cowboys. And just it's a great playoff environment, especially with the history there. The Cowboys should wear the throwbacks with the stars on the shoulders. Now, that would be something.
Yeah.
Nick, you played defense and you won Super Bowls and everything, and I won a Super Bowl, but I played with one of the best defenses in NFL history. Mm-hmm. And I knew what they were all about. No matter, you could have brought Tom Brady and the New England Patriots in there. You could have brought the greatest show on turf in there. I know exactly what they was getting ready to do to them. No matter if it was a high-octane offense or a bad offense, everything was going to be the same. You weren't going to score points and it was going to hit you in the mouth. So when I look at the San Francisco 49ers defense, outside of Kansas City, I think it was week 8 or 9, they haven't really been tested. Does that play in any part of your thinking on the defensive side of the ball when you were playing like we really haven't been tested, now we got a test on our hands?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can't help who's on the schedule. You just play who's on the list. So when you go through your schedule, if you happen to be number one, you're number one. But in the playoffs, everything steps up a little bit. And, there's definitely a difference between playing a mediocre offense and playing a playoff offense, especially when everything steps up. So, again, you think back to the Patriots. I mean, there were moments when the Patriots – they had the boogeymen, and I wasn't with the team anymore at the time, but they had a really good defense. They were one of the top defenses, and it didn't matter in the playoffs because they played a good team, and they got beat badly. So it's literally all how you play in the playoffs, and if you can put together a good game plan to where you stay under control, you don't lose your mind with blown calls, missed assignments, coverages that you mess up. That's when you can kind of go on a nice little run here, because at the end of the day, you could be a mediocre defense and you get in the playoffs and you play lights out. It's all about preparing for that one game, and we've seen it. Your Giants beat me in the Super Bowl. Nobody really thought they were going to come into the playoffs and make noise, and they ended up beating teams coming into the Super Bowl and beating the Patriots. It's all about how you play in the playoffs.
Let's stay right there. My favorite memory. Let's stay right there because
2 times.
Because this is like, even if you have a great career, you might play in 10 playoff games, right? That's a lot. Not a lot of guys playing 10 playoff games.
Yeah.
Every one of those is 10% of what we know about you in terms of what we really care about, right? So Eli Manning wrote his legacy right there. Went on the road, beat Aaron Rodgers, and then beat Brett Favre on the road in different seasons at Lambeau, beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl, went to Dallas, beat Tony Romo. So, that's Eli Manning. These guys are writing their scripts right now. We're in Act 1 of a lot of these guys' careers.
Yep.
How significant is this for Dak, for Josh Allen, for Joe Burrow? Patrick Mahomes already has got it, but those, there are quarterbacks who we think of a certain way. Joe Burrow's so clutch, but if he has a really bad game, that's a pretty big percentage of what we know about him in the playoffs. Josh Allen, he's on his way. And there's this kind of feeling like, well, Burrow gets it done. Can Josh Allen? But what if he does? What if Josh Allen does? Who has the most on the line here? What does it mean?
I think Josh Allen's got a lot on the line here, considering, the whole organization has been waiting, and the fan base has been waiting for another chance to get to this point right now. And he's going to have to go perform, and he's going to have to play better than he did against Miami. Can't turn the ball over, can't fumble, can't literally give the other team points. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Josh Allen. You look at the rest of them, Mahomes, okay, he's already been there, he's done that. Joe Burrow got to a Super Bowl last year. I mean, when's this? You said Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl. People would have been like, what? 3-5 years ago? No way.
But Nick, even for those guys, like the reason even for Mahomes, if Mahomes beats Trevor Lawrence, and he's supposed to, but like if he doesn't, that's not good. But if he does, 5 years as a starter, 5 championship game appearances. And if Burrow gets stopped here, okay, well, he got to the Super Bowl, but he lost, and then he won a playoff. But if he gets back to the AFC Championship game in year 2 as a starter, right, it's like big for everyone's legacy.
Bill would always talk about how playoff experience doesn't matter, and it's all about how you play, because there's been certain situations where somebody has their first opportunity and they ball out. And I think back to when I played my last game against the Falcons, and before that game, it was Trey Flowers. It was one of our defensive ends, a young kid at the time. I mean, this is a while ago now. And I remember just being like, hey, man, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. And he went out and had 2 sacks, like had a great game. And that's literally like, it doesn't matter your experience.
What Daboll said the other day. He's like, I think playoff experience is overrated compared to preparation and execution.
And you can go out there and if you don't let the moment get to you, because I mean, I think I played in like 17 playoff games. And
jeez,
yeah.
How many you play, kid?
Play a lot.
Not 17.
I started
damn
16.
sure.
I played in 17 playoff games.
So just in playoff for money alone.
Yeah.
He didn't even need to play regular season. The playoff money alone for him, he was on New England. Those dudes got rich just in the playoffs.
That's why he only gets to work half a week now. All those playoff games.
Well,
but he's right, though. You got to think about it. With my first playoff game I ever played in, divisional round against Jacksonville. I mean, we read the stat line, we saw the highlights earlier. It was ridiculous. I mean, because it was the moment, but at the same time, Nick, I was focused in, I was dialed in, I knew exactly what I needed to do. Wasn't any farting around, and you went out there and you balled out, and that was no pressure at all going into the game. It was none, zero. Once I realized and I took the field, okay, I'm going to eat their lunch today.
It's like an extra challenge, and I think every athlete, when they're in a situation of the next challenge, it's always like exciting, and you can't wait to get back into that moment. And a lot of the times, too, you go from there's that jump where you go from high school where you're just running around having fun. You know you're great. You know you're going to be good. And you go to college and you're like, how's this going to be? You go to college, and you're excited to be there and you ball out. Then you get to the league. You're like, man, these guys are good. I wonder if I can hang. And then you're like, man, these guys are nothing. I'm going to hang here too. And then you get to like the playoffs. Everyone talks about the playoffs. And you get there, you're like, beat these guys too. Like, it's just, it's a mentality. It's really like that challenge. Like, okay, now it's the next jump. And then you get to a Super Bowl, and there's all the hoopla and the media, and then it's just that jump. You're like, okay, now I have one game to ball out. Like, this is my chance. And then after this game, if we win this game,
and that's the thing that I said earlier about Trevor Lawrence in this situation. It's, he's played in championships and 80,000 college fans screaming. This is nothing. I'm like, y'all don't understand. It is something because now this is the divisional round. This is not week 18. This is not the wild card round. The speed goes up. It ratchets it up. Now he gets to the AFC Championship game. The speed goes up even more.
Imagine.
The windows get smaller. Guys like Nink is coming off the edge on a blitz that you hadn't seen all year long. You see 50 usually when he lines up there right outside the left leg of the defensive end, he usually drops. Now all of a sudden he's coming. And you go like, well, this is different. It's a different game.
Key, the one thing that I would say that these young guys don't experience is how that playoff special teams used to be. Like, playoff special teams, that first kickoff when there was no touchbacks and there was a 4-man wedge and you had to go down there and they say, hey, I want you to hit the middle of that guy, like hit the middle of those 4 guys, their locked arms, and just blow them up.
I've heard you talk about
and
this.
You just light your hair on fire and you take a smelling salt and you just, you run down there and you hit the middle of that wedge and all them dudes, and it's just, it's wild.
Cool. Hit the middle of the wedge.
Yes.
You said
speed.
You said these young guys don't know what that is?
No, they don't know.
Neither do I. And I played the same time you did.
You receiver.
All I could think of when I was watching
I want no
video,
parts of that.
I was a linebacker. The first thing when I got in the league, the first thing they said to me was, "Oh yeah, you're gonna hit the wedge." I ain't never done it before. That's how I hurt myself.
Hit the wedge.
That video of Key on because we played it on ESPN2 when we were talking about his career just now. You think when you're a kid that the old days, the grainy footage, and nowadays everything. Looking at that, man, Key, you are old. That footage looked old as hell. Fuzzy, not clear.
You can get good footage. I don't know. This is like off the internet, though. This isn't from our database.
I love the old school like score and like it. It's crazy because not that.